Let's go to our first interview of the day. Women's representation in the Senate is very important to achieve a balanced perspective from both genders. Women should be allowed to put their best foot forward, not selected based on loyalty to political godfathers, familiar ties, or patronage networks. Beyond the national legislature, political parties should be legally required to adopt gender quotas within their internal primary processes to build a sustainable pipeline of capable women in politics. Currently, there is a push for balanced female representation in the Senate through the specific seats bill. Joining us on this show today to discuss women representation in the Senate is Senator Florence Ita-Giwa, former lawmaker for Cross River South Senatorial District at the National Assembly and a former aide to former President Olusegun Obasanjo. Senator Ita-Giwa, good morning. Always a delight to have you on the program.
Thank you.
Okay, this proposal, we're in the season of constitutional amendment. This proposal to reserve seats for women, which is the case in some other countries, South Africa, Kenya, where is this country now? Malawi.
Yes.
Yeah, Malawi. And, so some people are saying we should increase the representation of women in parliament. At the moment, we have 3% in the Senate. We have
3.7 in the Senate.
In the House of Reps. We have
4.7 in the Senate.
In the Senate. So, yeah, what do you think of this proposal? Do you think this allocation of seats will solve the problem? Rather than what some people argue, that women have to beat the barriers and get involved and fight the women and leave the women's wing and the cooking and the entertainment section of the party and get into the mainstream. After all, women are more than half of the population.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Ruben. Thank you for having me here. I had to join the campaign to lobby, most reluctantly. Because as we're talking, I'm smiling because I'm not a gender politician. You know, I fought 4 elections. I always present myself as a person, not a man or a woman, as a human being, just like other people. But you know, at a management, I won 4 elections. I got to Senate. We were only 3 women in the Senate. I contested. I won, to be a deputy minority leader in the Senate. But it was war, So I always advocated for women to do what you have just said. Go there and fight. Because if you don't fight for it, you will not have a voice. Also last week, when I sat down and, started feeling very guilty, because since I finished the Senate message, no other woman has been able to win seats to the Senate, not even the House of Rep. And it's like that everywhere. Currently, like you said, Mr. Ruben, there are only 4 women in the Senate out of 109 men. And there are only 14 women in the House of Rep out of 360 men. But, we have to be realistic, my dear.
Madam, maybe 3 in the Senate. One of them is under suspension.
Well, there are 4, so maybe when she finishes, whatever, But there are 4 that won election, to the Senate, and she came through court judgment, which I congratulated her. But, I have looked at it, because I've gone everywhere to tell women that you cannot allow yourself to be seen as the weaker sex. And because we all embrace democracy, you understand? And it will be undemocratic for somebody in a democratic system or dispensation for somebody to be selected. You understand? Then the question will be, who are you representing? But the way that they're trying to, introduce these special seat bids means that it is not going to be for free. The women would have to contest the election. You understand? Because if they don't contest election, they will not have a voice. And if it is just to select, I would not even talk about it, because somebody will just put his hand in his pocket and pick whoever he likes, which woman he likes to go and represent. But the good thing about this thing is that they're going to contest election. And also it will be subject to review after like 16 years, that's 2 election cycles. You understand? To this thing. So, but because, please, I'm being realistic. It is extremely, extremely difficult today for women to win election. Election process has become so terribly expensive. You understand? The violence in the field, you know, I'm always entertained when I watch women come out here or hold meetings to talk about women must go. I said, these women don't know what is in the field. Even ordinary councillorship election, at my level, at my state level, I had to threaten. I said, if my female councillor does not win this election, which she deserves to win, is a girl who studied aviation, is a girl who wants to be in politics, then we're going to end up in UN. And thank God that they respected me, they did not disturb, they did not go to fight her. That's councillorship. Mr. Roman, I had to, from Senate, I had to reduce myself to the level of going to do councillorship election now, because I have to support the next generation. So, but it is very, very difficult, because no man would go to the field. In fact, the men prepare more when they are going to face women for election. Because what will they go home to go and tell their wives that woman beat me for an election? So, you know, they can't fight it. Even when you win, they don't forgive you. The man that I defeated 32 years ago, that's of Rep, till today, he has not forgiven me for you are beating him. You understand? In fact, he might say I'm not the man's friend because I've been them fought and I'm not their friend. You understand? But if you are good to the people, but being good to them means you have to have money, you have to go and give people food, you have to visit, you have to do visible things. And the women, the business women are not given business to do, you know, to earn income. So where do they find money? There are no organizations that bring huge amounts of money. Because why are you contesting? You know those in the Senate today, they are billionaires. Because somehow, in the course of my doing politics, I discovered that when men get very, very, very successful and still want to go into Senate, maybe to protect their empire. So you'll be going for election against one billionaire, a poor woman, you understand? If you have your 100,000, the man has 1 billion to put in the election because they have spoiled the electorate with too much money.
And you know, when
the contest is too tough for me. If this is the best thing that is coming out of Nigeria, because we are rated as the lowest level of representation at the National Assembly, in Parliament. Even when I still go for some parliamentary meetings, I still go for Awulo and all that, and I'm always embarrassed. And they ask me, Senator, what are you doing? But there's something I can do because I can't afford to sponsor women for election.
Okay, so, Senator Florence, and on that note, you know, talking about getting more women involved. So I know you always talk about the reality of elections and what you faced when, you know, especially because it's always male-dominated.
Yes.
But do you think that when it's women contesting for a seat that is reserved for women, that some of these intrigues will still be at play, or do you think it will bring a new set of challenges? How do you think it will change the landscape when it's a woman versus a woman for a woman's seat?
If the women are allowed to contest among themselves, you know, because this arrangement does not affect the 3 senatorial seats. You understand? If a woman is strong enough, she can still go and contest under her senatorial platform, you know, on her senatorial platform. So it does not stop you from contesting. But these other special seats reserved for women, what it says is that the women would contest, only women would contest for that seat. It's exclusively for women to contest. So, and sometimes it's not also easy because there are people backing women. I had election, my last election was with a woman, you know, but for me, I left her and I was fighting her backers. You understand? Because men also come to invest to back seriously. So I just left the innocent woman. My last election to Senate, I was fighting, you know, the supporters of the woman. We were very, very strong men. Because men also would want to hijack. So they probably put one girl forward You understand? So these are all the things that we have to look at. In every place, the women who have been struggling. For instance, even for this bill to rear its head, you know, like this girl was in the House of Reps, Nkoyotoyo has been, you know, I mean, she's fought endlessly over this issue. You know, there are many women. Nkoyotoyo has been fighting. You know, the female commissioners have been fighting. You know, a lot of women. I mean, even now, the female parliamentarian, former parliamentarian platform that I belong to, we have come together to say that it is embarrassing for us to finish and come out, and then there are no more women. Because the way it's going, at the end of the day, we're going to have an all-male parliament, even at the state level.
So what do we do about it? Should we put up a fund where if women want to raise money, we can raise like maybe a couple of billions and say we can facilitate and give them? I think there was an NGO at some point that was trying to put something like that together. I don't know how that went. Secondly, what do we say about women that don't support other women, you know, because of their own benefits, you know, selfish benefit, whatever it may be? Thirdly, what do we do? Do we do a lot of work as regards sensitization of people and saying a woman has a right to be able to compete in the election process? It shouldn't be a do or die affair. Do we discourage thuggery? Can we take thuggery out of this election process and guns and killings and money? What can we really do to fix this? Because we need a lot more women there. The problem with our government is that there's so much testosterone. I said, where? You know, in the scheme of things. So what are some of the solutions we can explore?
I think first of all, my son, the Senate must be commended for prioritizing this bill, even pushing it forward. Because, like I said, I just came back from where they had a public hearing, and very successful public hearing where the women were allowed to speak, all generations, both old and young. And we addressed all these issues. So, but the fact that bringing this to the front, you know, to the front burner is very encouraging. You know, the issue of thuggery, you know, I'm trying to find a way that I'll go around Nigeria to try and let women understand that the issue of thuggery, I call it psychological, you know, psychological warfare. Because if they attack you and you don't run, you know, there's something in my mind, but it to be, I always think that it's derogatory to describe men. You know, I'm a fan of the men because, you know, I find my own policy is that let us try to work together. I'm not saying that I don't do gender thing that the men would go, you know. So me and the men, some of them, you know, we are friends, you know. So if, because most of the time when women enter the field, they hear they run. You understand? And I always tell women that I do not mean to apply derogatory terms or description of men by using the word dog. That if you suddenly find yourself in the midst of 2-3 dogs and they bark at you and you stand still and they come and nose around you and, you know, like smell around you and you don't run, they quietly turn back and go. And I do not mean to abuse men, but this is how I describe from my experience.
So what you're saying is that if
don't run,
bullets, they
don't
should
run.
And they don't have bulletproof, and they don't have Udishi.
No, don't run, because they will not shoot you.
Really?
Yes. But if you that
what
thing
if stray
is meant,
bullets hit you?
No, well, it will be unfortunate. You know? No, because no. On the best
Senator, you had your own issues.
I've done
you said a lot of bullets.
And I had to learn. I did worse things than the men. You understand? Because I understand, and now God, by the time you finish one election, see, the women that talk, they don't know what's in the field. Do you understand? Ita-Giwa sitting down here is a different person. Like if I have to go into the creeks of Bakassi to do election, I'm a completely different person. Because you have to win the election.
You use talks to yourself?
Sorry?
You use these talks to harass them?
I can be a talk myself.
Use a talk.
Let's not discuss serious. That's not the issue.
No, it's a very important matter because it's
the issue is that,
talk about law.
Mr. Roman, we are appealing to the Senate. You understand? To try and facilitate this bill.
Okay,
Well,
let's
that
talk
is the
about
only
law
solution.
and policy. Now, there is in place a national gender policy, 2006. Nigeria is also a signatory to what they call the Convention on the Elimination of Discrimination Against Women, CEDAW. Now, the Nigerian Constitution also has sections that talk about federal character,
Yes.
Federal character representation.
Yes.
Section 14.
Yes.
Section 42 talks about non-discrimination.
Yes.
Now, Nigerian women have gone to court,
Yes.
and the court ruled in their favor
Yes.
that the national gender policy should be enforced.
Yes.
35% women representation. But this same Nigerian government has refused to do that.
No.
So the Nigerian government says, okay, the court can rule and say we have this legal framework that women should be recognized. Who are they anyway? So the question is, you are a veteran in this field. The women who are coming into the field, you can't possibly advise them to carry guns, to become thugs.
Nobody's asking anybody to carry gun. Nobody's asking anybody to
or to go
carry
and
gun.
fight.
But can you?
We run a country that is patriarchal. I have husbands who will not allow their wives to go for political meetings.
Yes.
These meetings are at night. And the women, they agree to be in the entertainment section, women's wing. What will you say to aspiring women politicians? They are the ones who will go and take Ashwebi, who are adding color. The women themselves are part of the problem.
Did you listen? I don't know whether you had time to listen to
I listened
my
to you.
presentation to you.
I know your politics very well.
Okay.
I know your position.
Because
what do you say to these women?
I really appreciate. For once, I'm on the same page with you. Thank God. I think.
For once, you once going to rejoin that against me.
No. I'm happy that you. I'm always pained, because highly, educated women, strong women, intellectuals, solid women, subjected to wearing ashwebi to dance for the men to win election. The women dance for the men to win election to House of Rep, win election to Senate, then they go and become governor, then they stroll back to Senate, the same women. And yet one woman cannot go to State Assembly. But I'm being realistic, please. There is no way, you understand, that the law courts or anybody can enforce the government to send 35% to Senate. Without this law now, this law for me is the best thing that's happened, because I've told myself that I've realized the reality of today, the times. You understand that the only savior we have is that if we can put pressure, like I'm coming here, I've humbled myself, I'm ready to kneel down for the men in the Senate to push this bill forward, for it to be actualized, so that now this is official. No man is giving up his seats. Allocate this seat, 1% for one woman. And then let the women, strong women, come out to contest among themselves. Forever, if you tell women to go and contest against the men, they will not win, because they cannot afford it. They cannot afford the toggery. Like I said, nobody can have the strength to stand and hear gunshots and all that.
But you stood.
No, I stood because I was in Biafra I was in Biafra for 3 years. Then I came out from Bakassi. You understand? I do politics with militants. And I have to win the election. I go to the creek because I have to go there. And not because my upbringing. I'm a daughter of a journalist. I was brought up in cosmopolitan, but what's going to be do, like the Americans say, going to be do? I needed to win the election. I have issues. I have Bakassi issues. I have my mother who went to detention issues to deal with. I have Ita-Giwa that are married, that was, very, very prolific columnist, that left a good career in America and came back to Nigeria. I had to go there. I had to come out. I could not leave those names. So whatever it is, I put it in my head that whatever happens, you've got to kill me first to take this. And my people like me. 32 years after House of Rep, Mr. Ruben, I'm still working.
But what of the women who don't want to fight? Who just think we are
I'm
citizens
telling them now to
and
fight.
we have a right?
You understand? Do not be nice girls to these men. You understand? Do not be nice.
Don't recommend feminism of a violent variety.
No, why are you accusing me of? Okay. Look, we are on television.
Anymore, so that
the women should fight.
It's enough now.
No, but the thing is that I am praying to God that women will stop allowing themselves to be scared by men.
Yes, very
Because
nice.
you have to be totally fearless. And if you believe in God, you'll be fearless.
Yes.
That nobody can harm you. There are people that have fought, not even in Nigeria, abroad, there are women that have fought and won. You know, so I am totally fearless. And you said I worked with Obasanjo for 4 years, you know. It is that same thing I carried in my head that helped me to survive my
Okay.
you understand? To survive my boss for 4 years, you understand? So when people were talking about
that note,
He's on the same stage with you.
No, wait.
I hope you are not advising her to fight you.
No, you can't
fight on this.
You understand?
My auntie teaches me strategic fights.
I worked with a man for 4 years, and if you did something good that he liked, you know, his thank you would be to slap you, bah, and then embrace you.
Okay.
On that note,
I know that we
have many stories to share, but unfortunately our time is up.
To work hard. Women must work hard. Women must be strong.
Women must work hard and women
because
must be
you
strong.
have a right to represent your people. And women make very, very good representatives.
Thank you.
Because they are committed, they are dedicated.
Yes.
They have to, you know, try and make sure that they offer the people the best level of representation.
Absolutely.
And we don't take power for granted. I don't take power for granted. Yeah. Power is good, so you don't take power for granted.
Okay. All right. So Senator Florence Ita-Giwa, Sosoma, thank you so much for coming today. Have fun.